A man of many words once said, "My fellow Americans, ask not what your country can do for you, but what you can do for your country." President John F. Kennedy used this statement in his inauguration speech in 1961 to give the people a glimpse of how he would soon run the country. JFK was a president who led our country with grace and with words of inspiration. He started off his term as the leader of the free world with an idea for everyone to think about. From resources about JFK Kennedy, we see the impact that he left on our country, including the fact that he gave the people the idea of space exploration, also how he was handled in crisis, and how his death, as well as his legacy, will have impacted the world forever. On May 25th, 1961, President Kennedy announced that the United States of America would explore outside of the Earth and go to the moon. JFK made this announcement with giving the speech before a joint session of Congress. The speech was called "The Decision to Go to the Moon." In this speech, it explains his goal of landing a man on the moon and returning him safely to Earth. JFK wanted to succeed this goal for the country, but also for himself. I believe because of being the president and to send a man to the moon is quite a legacy. The fact that President Kennedy had a dream of succeeding with his goal of the country being the first to walk on the moon, and for the U.S. to accomplish it for mankind, like said in the speech, in this period will be more impressive to mankind or more important for the long-range exploration of space. The people were all excited for the idea, but also with succeeding calls for the nervousness to arise. They did not question their president just if it was truly possible. But the country succeeded in 1969 when the first man walked on the moon. JFK inspired the people to be involved and to continue till the project was done, and they did. They made this happen even after the assassination of President Kennedy. President Kennedy prevented nuclear Armageddon. After the Bay of Pigs invasion in July 1962, which is when the United States attempted to overthrow Fidel Castro in Cuba, Soviet nuclear missiles were sent to be placed in Cuba to prevent an American attack. The U.S. then took actions to protect the country and was getting prepared for anything that could happen for the missiles. JFK, being a good president, he decided to make one more stand against before going to war, which was then when Kennedy then ordered a naval blockade around Cuba to stop any actions being completed by the Soviets. JFK not only protected the U.S. from nuclear war, but he made a peaceful resolution. Kennedy was strong and firm in his views on what to do for the country in time of crisis, and in the end stayed level-headed and came out on top. Kennedy's actions during this time is one of his most impactful accomplishments politically during this time in office. On November 22nd, 1963, President Kennedy was assassinated in Dallas, Texas. JFK died at exactly 1 p.m. That day. Even in death, he inspired people. President Kennedy will forever be remembered for his legacy that he has left on the country and how he has impacted the people. The president was loved by many and left a legacy that will be lived on forever. Kennedy protected his country from nuclear attack. He was the first Catholic president, and he inspired Americans. He established the Peace Corps and set goals for the whole country. The country has since recognized his legacy and celebrated him through the John F. Kennedy Presidential Library and Museum with the JFK 100, a year to honor the 100th anniversary of the birth of JFK. Ending with the fact that President John F. Kennedy was an amazing human being and president. He will be remembered for so many important things he did for the United States, where it be giving the country something to believe in, with his goal of walking on the moon, as well as standing strong against crisis with the Cuban Missile Crisis. But most importantly, it is the legacy he left behind that will be remembered forever. Even in death, he taught the country something and inspired the United States. Ending with a quote from President Kennedy: "As we express our gratitude, we must never forget that the highest form of appreciation is not to utter words, but to live by them."